So what is the object of the game? Let's take a look at a 4-player game of Star Colonies, and I'll be using Tabletop Simulator to demonstrate. Here we have 4 players around the table: green, blue, red and yellow, and the player order will determine clockwise, starting with the first player with 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards and 4 cards, and then continuing with 4 cards as you refresh at the end of each turn, being the hand limit. Here I have a hand of 4 cards with a typical start: a scout ship, transport and transport. With the scout ship, I can play in the first turn to explore, to reveal and place a top star system. In this case, I have found an uninhabitable world with my scout ship, which can give me some special bonuses. If I have warships to place, I would place them in the deploy phase, and then I would use the transports in the transport phase to earn money. Transports can be placed in a resource slot if you have them on your planet. In this case, Tau Ceti has 1, none of my other planets do, and that can be saved over for future turns. Or I could spend the money now, going into my supply, which is essentially my bank, to gain 3 credits. The number of credits that you have to buy is the amount of transports that you have just played into your bank. You cannot buy a ship before you have money in your bank. I can therefore buy a ship worth 3. I could buy a heavy transport. I could buy a combination of warships up to a cost of 3, say for example a 2 and a 1, or I might want to buy a 3. If I'm going for a early victory, I might want to buy an outpost ship. So let's say I do an outpost ship. I place that on my desk, on my top of my transport there. I have 1 credit left over, and I have just enough to buy myself a corvette, which is a small warship, just enough to stop a scout. And I'll place that onto my deck as well. Of course, I can place it in any order. If I place my corvette first onto my deck and then the outpost ship, when I then draw my cards onto the top of my deck, I'll do so like this. When my deck is finished, I then draw the 4 cards to my hand, and notice that the warship comes out first. The next card to be drawn will of course be the outpost ship. So there I have the ship I want to have first in my deck as the first one I build. Your order of supply is always the same as you decide. Now, what are the objectives? The objectives in the game are to gain as many victory stars as possible. An outpost gets you 1, a colony gets you 2. If you are the first player to get an outpost, I will gain 1 point for being the first player to get an outpost. I will then gain the open objective, the first outpost as well. So that goes to my area next to my board, and I have gained a 2nd point there, having a 2nd outpost. Let's say the yellow player does the same and is able to get an outpost and claim the 2nd outpost here. They will then get 2 victory points as well, but the first player always wins on ties. The 3rd and 4th player to get the outpost would only get 1 point each. However, that's not a problem, because the real objective of the game is to land the first colony or have 3 outposts to win an endgame objective. The endgame objectives, as you can see here, are 2 victory points, and they will end the game with the other players getting just 1 last deploy action back round to the table for you. And these will put you on a very high score at the end of the game. Why would you want to do that to end the game? Well, you have to be able to defend your planets, because if the blue player captures an outpost from the red player, the blue player gains 2 victory points, and the red player in this case would lose 2 victory points and actually go down to that point there. The player who gets the first colony, of course, wins an extra victory point for doing so, which actually in this case would have been the red player. And then the end game, if they were able to get 2 colonies, they would get another 2 points. If they won the colony back, for example, they would get another point. So how do you get these? Well, once you have 2 outposts on the game, colony ships become available. They, just like outpost ships, are scrapped to deploy an outpost on a world. So when you are able to send an outpost ship to a world, which is an outpost only world or a colony suitable world, a habitable world with a green border, you can then scrap them to deploy an outpost. An outpost gains you the abilities to scrap and repair ships, which is very useful in the game. And a colony allows you to do the same, but you can also scrap 2 ships for their full value during the transport phase, and you gain an extra ship in support. That means you can have 3 ships in support. So those are the main open objectives of the game and how to win. However, just to mix the game up, we have secret objectives as well. These are drafted at the start of the game, and they can add a very interesting tactical aspect to the game because no one knows what secret objective you have. There are golden objectives, which are economy, upgraded fleet, mining rare elements, which means to capture gas giants or asteroid fields, which give you a bonus. Here is a gas giant. When you use the resources on a gas giant, you gain special gases to gain extra trade credits at the end of your turn. So these are secret trade objectives. You also get warlord war objectives like warlord, destroyer, or 3 factions as well. You can get exploration objectives, which requires finding strange worlds or habitable worlds. These are both explore objectives. So control any 2 of Red Giant Protostar Systems Nebula, or control 4 habitable worlds with a green border. Those are secret objectives, and they can be used very, very well to be able to gain you those extra points. You can buy a secret objective as well in the game for 3 credits, and you can swap an objective for 1 credit if you trade your objectives in and then get another from the top of the deck.